In a recent letter to President Donald Trump, Democratic lawmakers identified Kern Valley Hospital as one of the many rural facilities that could be impacted by healthcare cuts. I'm Priscilla Lara, your neighborhood reporter. However, hospital officials say they are not concerned about the potential effects. In a recent letter to President Donald Trump, Democratic lawmakers listed 2 hospitals in Kern County that could be impacted by funding changes made by the Big Beautiful Bill. Those 2 hospitals being Adventist Health Tehachapi Valley and Kern Valley Hospital District. The Kern Valley Hospital is the only hospital located here in the Kern River Valley, which is approximately 40 miles away from Bakersfield. Chief Financial Officer with the Kern Valley Hospital District, John Lovrich, says he expects to see some cuts being made.
It will affect us slightly, but I think some of the issues that people are bringing up are exaggerated and kind of scare tactics.
Lovrich says the Big Beautiful Bill disproportionately cuts back on funding. However, he says he doesn't anticipate the hospital being shut down.
Even if the cuts do come, we have a surplus right now that will enable us to withstand these cuts. And we are actually putting in some plans to tighten our belts a little bit if the cuts do happen.
Despite the hospital's beliefs, community members like Kevin Porizik are concerned. With his mother often using the hospital, he says he worries the cuts will lead to the closure of the only hospital in town.
It might be a life detrimenting if somewhere on the way down she happens not to make it because of the distance.
There is still a lot of uncertainty, though, to be worked out, but not everything appears to be bad news.
There's also a provision in there that helps they put $50 billion that's going to single out help for rural hospitals, and that's what we are, a rural hospital.
Lovrich assures the community that the hospital is not going anywhere and will remain dedicated to providing quality service to its patients. For 23 ABC, I'm Priscilla Lara, your neighborhood reporter.
A win for the possible future of the Bakersfield Veterans Affairs Clinic that's been over a decade in the making. Judge Gregory Pulskamp ruled in favor of the city of Bakersfield in a lawsuit filed in December 2023. It was filed on behalf of the Bakersfield Veterans LLC and Friends of the Bakersfield Kit Fox, challenging the site's construction over concerns about kit fox habitats and other claims. Some of the judge's rulings include the project does not require a conditional use permit, the air quality analysis complies with the CEQA, and the city did not violate the project-based vouchers rights to due process and a fair hearing. City Attorney Ginny Gennaro tells 23 ABC this ruling is great news, as the project can now go forward despite 2 separate suits at federal district court in Fresno. However, the plaintiffs have 30 days to appeal the decision.
It's a postal nightmare in Tehachapi. Hundreds of customers at the Postal ASAP on Tucker Road abruptly discovered the store closed last week, and with it, a lot of lost mail and important items. I'm Steve Eaton, your neighborhood reporter. One customer described the ordeal as hell.
We get our prescriptions through the mail. My husband's in the hospital in Bakersfield, and he's coming home in a few days. But he'll be on hospice, so I'm trying to deal with a lot besides this.
Carol Casey Newell, a Bear Valley Springs resident, was at Postal ASAP on Wednesday to pick up her mail, but was told it was most likely returned to sender because Postal ASAP closed last week. What are you going through these past couple days?
Hell.
Postal ASAP was open for 5 hours on Wednesday and will be open Thursday from 9:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. Many customers were told their mail was most likely returned to sender, while others were able to retrieve mail. Brandy Davenport, a small business owner in Tehachapi, tells me she paid ASAP $240 for a year's service 2 days before it closed.
I just think the whole thing is a real slap in the face to the community, especially the senior citizens that utilize this building, the small businesses, the everyday person. If you know you're going to be evicted, just be honest. You know, I feel like the community would give you grace and have understanding, especially in a hard time. But instead, they willingly knew they were closing and they still took people's payment. And I just think that that's fraud at the highest point.
Representatives that manage the Red Apple Plaza in Tehachapi were helping customers on Wednesday. They declined to go on camera. The Postal ASAP owner was Shauna Marie Conrad, the Tehachapi News reported. Conrad's phone number is posted at the store window. She did not return phone messages. Conrad was served a 3-day notice to pay rent or quit on July 8th, 2024, according to the Tehachapi News. At the time, more than $44,000 in rent was due, the Tehachapi News reported. Conrad recently created a GoFundMe page for $125,000. Davenport told me. Conrad was supposed to post her closing in March. She added, Brandy Kendrick paid $240 for a year's service in May. Her grandfather's image is painted on the mural that was recently restored in downtown Tehachapi. She tells me someone had sent her a VHS tape of her grandfather from several years ago. She hopes it makes it back to the sender intact.
I feel bad that they're experiencing the hardships that they're experiencing, but at the same time, I'm like, oh, somebody should have said something. And I don't know, now we're in a position that we've had packages sent here that can't be replaced.
Several customers did not want to go on camera, but found out about the closing when they came to get mail. For 23 ABC, I'm Steve Eaton, your neighborhood reporter.
Former Kern County Supervisor Zach Scrivener is set to appear in court on Thursday, July 10th, for a status conference hearing. Scrivener was initially scheduled to have his status conference hearing back on May 1st. Scrivener faces allegations of child sexual assault, being charged with 3 counts of willful cruelty of a child and 2 counts of possession of an assault rifle. The Kern County District Attorney's Office says it has resolved a case alleging improper use of county resources by Christian Romo, who serves as Chief of Staff for County Supervisor Leticia Perez. In October 2024, investigators from the DA's office served a search warrant at Perez's office. After a 9-month investigation, District Attorney Cynthia Zimmer said in a press release that an investigation found evidence that Romo used his county-issued computer to conduct 4 political meetings with the Kern County Democratic Central Committee and 1 political interview, all done in his county office. That's a violation of state law and county ordinances, said Zimmer. None of the activity, however, happened during working hours. Zimmer said the investigation found no substantial loss to the county. Romo cooperated with the investigation and successfully completed training by the Fair Political Practices Commission and Department of Justice. No criminal charges were filed. 23 ABC reached out to Christian Romo for comment, and he fired back with a statement that reads, after spending unnecessary taxpayer dollars and resources, District Attorney Cynthia Zimmer has finally announced what we knew all along. There was no criminal violation and no cost to the county. Now that this is past us, it is my hope that the DA's office will prioritize addressing the actual crimes and corruption in our community. Former Fairfax School District President Palmer Molland has been sentenced following his conviction for filing false nomination papers and perjury. A judge handed down a 3-year suspended sentence, instead imposing 90 days in jail with credit for time served and 2 years of formal probation. The charges stem from Mullen's 2022 candidacy for a seat on the school board. Prosecutors say he lied about living within district boundaries to qualify for the ballot. He was acquitted of several other felony charges, including embezzlement, illegal voting, and additional counts of perjury.
In life, we all face choices, some of which have lasting consequences. Kern County is committed to providing a pathway for residents in the community who want to make a positive change. I'm Eric J. Dockery, your Bakersfield neighborhood reporter. The Kern County Probation Department offers classes to individuals in the community who want to turn over a new leaf and reintegrate themselves into society.
Under the watch of the Kern County Probation Department, this program usually takes 8 to 14 months depending on the individual and their availability. Meeting 3 times a week and taking classes and learning social skills that will set them up for the rest of their lives.
Our program is an evidence-based program based on cognitive behavior treatment. So what we essentially want to do is changing the way they think so that they can change their behavior to more pro-social behaviors, right? Giving them those skills in order for them to change that unhealthy habit and break the cycle.
Isabel tells me their students first come in and are standoffish due to them being around officers and officials.
That's the number one thing, right? I'm not sure that I want to do this. I'm not too sure. But I can assure you that we try to make the process as easy as possible. The probation officers within our unit, they're here to see them be successful as well.
The goal of the program is straightforward. It's meant to help people who have made mistakes turn their lives around and start a new life. As they become more accepting, they start to share their stories and absorb the teachings.
I was coming in and I was always, I was using and I was dirty. So I didn't want to come in here, but once I started getting clean, and I noticed that that people here were really helpful. They were trying to help me. They helped me get in a program. They helped me do everything, getting housing. I mean, there's all kinds of things that they do, and I never had that before.
Kenneth tells me he has been in and out of the program due to personal problems over the last few years. After he graduates, he plans to come back and give back to those who are going through the program just like he did.
I see a lot of young people coming in, and I think of myself back then, you know, and the things I were going through. And sometimes I'll sit and talk to them, and I'll tell them, hey, you know what, just work with these people and try to stay clean, and you know, you don't, then it just makes everything so easy. You know, I wish I would have caught that a long time ago, but, you know, I had to be hard-headed and go through what I had to go through.
At the end of this program, they host a graduation for their students, congratulating them on their accomplishments and the new person they have become. For 23 ABC, I'm Eric J. Dockery, your Bakersfield neighborhood reporter.
At least 160 people are still missing due to the deadly Texas floods over the weekend. We'll take you to the scene of Camp Mystic, one of the hardest hit areas. And we're tracking extreme heat in parts of California. Our temperatures are going to be rising soon. Your forecasts coming up. Rescue teams are scouring the Guadalupe River in Kern County, Texas, looking for more than 160 people still missing. One of the hardest hit areas is Mystic Springs, home to Camp Mystic, where at least 27 campers and counselors died, and others remain unaccounted for. Scripps News correspondent Michael Anthony Adams got a first look at the scene today.
So I'm driving down Highway 39. This is the road that leads to Camp Mystic. It's been difficult to access, but just the drive in, you can begin to see just how vicious these floodwaters were. You see a bunch of mangled tree limbs that are twisted and bent down to the ground, and people's belongings that are just strewn across the side of the road, you know, put aside like trash, but this isn't trash. These are people's lives. We're beginning to get our first looks at the tremendous power of this flood and the damage that it caused. This is the Guadalupe River, and just across the way is Camp Mystic. Piled in front of the dormitories here, you can see a bunch of campers' belongings are laid out on the lawn. The search and rescue crew that I spent time with earlier this week told me that just the staggering amount of children that have been lost in these floods has been the hardest pill to swallow for them. But it's also what's driving them to continue their search endlessly until everyone is accounted for. I think one of the things that has probably hit me hardest here is seeing 4th of July t-shirts and party favors. You know, you realize that this was supposed to be a night of celebration, and I think that date is going to mean something completely different now here in Kern County. It's just incredibly sad, but unfortunately it's not too hard to imagine just how powerful the waters were as they came rushing down through here when you see things like 2-ton SUVs lodged into the side of the hill. There's just so much more ground for search and rescue crews to cover, and that is why we see numbers like 160 people still missing after nearly a week since this has happened. This is Michael Anthony Adams, Scripps News Group, Kern County, Texas.
23 ABC, in partnership with the Scripps Howard Fund, is raising money to help those impacted by the deadly floods in Texas. There are 3 ways to donate. You can scan the QR code on your screen, you can text flooding to 50155, or you can visit our website, turnto23.com. All right, turning to our weather here in California. Extreme heat, the only issue we're dealing with, and that's especially true in southeast California today. 119 at Palm Springs, so some extremely high temperatures built into the southeast United States, and eventually that's going to make it our way. Already seeing temperatures close to 110 in the hottest parts of Kern today. 109 at China Lake, 106 at Edwards Air Force Base. Here in Bakersfield, actually not too bad at 95, but we're not going to be able to say that anytime soon. It's going to be getting pretty hot here as we head through the extended forecast. So through the night tonight, 50s, 60s, 70s. Nothing all that noteworthy there, but definitely going to see those hot temperatures returning to the forecast tomorrow afternoon. Again, in the vicinity of 105 to 110 in the hottest parts of Kern County tomorrow. I think we've got a decent shot of getting back up into the triple digits here in Bakersfield, too. And once we do manage to get above 100, we're not going to drop below 100 degrees anytime soon. We'll see that in the extended forecast. One last thing to touch on, though, eastern currents still in line for some gusty winds for tomorrow, 20 to 30, even as high as 40 miles per hour. So still a little on the windy side, but of course the temperature is going to be the bigger issue and remain the bigger issue for the foreseeable future. For tomorrow, even if we do hit 100, which again, very much a possibility, won't be for very long. Maybe an hour, 2 hours at the most. Not too bad there.